In the studio, I'll do this later, Perez. In the studio, it's Derek Easley, President BIPEC. Good morning, Derek. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Paul.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First time that you've been on.
Yeah, I think I've been on with some of your counterparts.
So it's good to have you. How is BIPEC? What's the Business and Industry Political Education Committee up to?
Well, we've wrapping up the session that would never end. It was a successful session. Two things. Of course, we came out in favor of retiring the flag and adopting a new one, so that was consider that a success. Also important, we kind of led a coalition to make sure that we got COVID liability protections for our businesses in these uncertain times to make sure to thwart any frivolous lawsuits.
Some of that, the immunity talk that was going on in Congress and everything, it reminded me a little bit of the immunity that they wanted to lessen or get rid of from police officers across the country. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I would argue that what our legislature ended up passing and the governor signing is one of, if not the strongest liability protections in the country.
How important are these Supreme Court races?
They're extremely important. Of course, there's a lot going on the ballot this year. I know your previous guests were discussing one of the ballot initiatives. Of course, we're going to be looking at adopting a new state flag. But one thing that we don't want to get lost is the importance of reelecting Justice Kenny Griffiths and Justice Josiah Coleman. They're both constitutional conservatives. They've been terrific judges. They are what BIPEC recommends as best for adhering to the impartiality and fairness on Mississippi's highest courts.
If you don't think that is important in those positions, think about this. What we just had the previous interview, and what those courts have got to decide.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll also, I mentioned about the COVID liability protections that we did this session. It wasn't too long ago that Mississippi was considered a judicial hellhole. Frivolous lawsuits just kind of were rampant around the state. The passage of tort reform curbed that. But what a lot of people don't realize, and this has happened in other states, neighboring states, the legislative gains that the state has made in terms of curbing frivolous lawsuits can be undone by the courts. And I would argue that if either Josiah Coleman or Kenny Griffiths lose, that those gains that we've made are going to be in real jeopardy. Let
me say this: the Trial Lawyers Association, or maybe not the association, but there are a lot of people who are constantly waiting for a weak spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like a lion and a wildebeest out there. When that wildebeest starts limping, lions are coming.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize, since the passage of tort reform, there have been arguments in front of our Supreme Court questioning the constitutionality of the caps that were put in place, and they have yet to rule. So, if the court were to flip, they could decide to hear those arguments again and rule on the constitutionality of the caps. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and undo all the gains that we've made.
I laughed a little bit when you said the tort reform because my mind was playing some of those back then. I'm not even sure you were here or in that fray at that particular time, but some of the lawsuits that were filed in places like Claiborne County or Port Gibson, it was just some of them were far-fetched, but people were making millions upon millions of dollars.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, Justice Coleman's opponent actually ran for the Supreme Court before, and he was largely financed by those same individuals. A lot of names that a lot of folks would recognize. Notable plaintiffs' attorneys: Richard Swartz, John Arthur Eves, Don Evans. Prominent Democrats like former Chairman Bobby Moak of the Democrat Party, David Berry, a former member of the House of Representatives. So those are the folks that supported Josiah Coleman's opponent last time and supporting him again, or many of those are supporting him again. And then I will say Justice Griffith's opponent is Latrice Westbrooks. She's a member of the Court of Appeals, and she's a very left-leaning activist judge, and I don't think that's what Mississippi would want on the Supreme Court.
Derek Easley. Derek is president of the BIPEC Business and Industry Political Education Committee. You've been there how long now?
4 years, 4.5 years.
When you look at the vulnerability of these justices, have there been any polls out there?
We have not conducted any polls. I'm sure there's
anybody you know of conducted polls?
Internally, I'm sure that the campaigns have conducted polls. Again, a lot of folks just don't know who their Supreme Court justices are. True. In Mississippi, we have 9, and there's 3 per district, and it's the North Central and South District, just like our PSC and transportation commissioners. And they're down ballot races. Judges aren't supposed to be highly political for a reason. That's probably part of the reason that a lot of folks don't know.
There's no
who
party
their judges
affiliation on the ballot either.
There is not. They run nonpartisan, which again can confuse people. But I will tell you, the constitutional conservatives in this race are Justice Coleman and Justice Griffiths.
Coleman and Griffiths, C&G.
There you go.
C&G, Coleman and Griffiths. We got to get that done. Anything else on the ballot that you know of is going to be? Now we do have a couple of other things on there that people need to kind of read over before they go in.
Yeah, absolutely. Two of the ballot initiatives BIPEC has, our board of directors have taken positions on. We are opposed to Initiative 65. We issued a statement a couple weeks ago. We have concerns about putting medical marijuana in our Constitution. We have concerns about what this how it may negatively impact employers, again, going back to lawsuits, and what could happen there. So we're encouraging folks to, what we say, fill in both bottom bubbles. The first one is vote against both, which is the first bottom bubble, and the second bottom bubble is to vote for 65A.
65A is a good idea to do that, just in case. I'll say that because there's going to be lawsuits from somebody working at a factory or somebody working in an office. When they come in, they'll say, I've got a card, and you're going to fire me. You can't do that. So that's got to be tested in pretty quick. Yeah,
again, our position isn't necessarily on the issue of medical marijuana itself.
I understand.
But we do have concerns. And we have precedent here. I was with the Realtors Association at the time 5 years ago when Initiative 42, which was trying to give judicial control to education spending. And BIPEC at the time came out and opposed Initiative 42 because going back to what Chairman Lamar was talking about, you don't just blow up our Constitution anytime you want to tackle an issue that has this type of impact.
So what's next on the agenda for BIPEC? When's the ratings come out?
Well, they're actually already out. So,
are they out?
Well, because of the crazy session, typically we have those out in May, but because they didn't adjourn until just a couple months ago, we had to delay that process. Our scorecard is online, and we have the print versions that we have mailed to our members and to the various trade associations. Of course, 30-plus trade associations participate in BIPEC, and so we get those scorecards out to them so they can get to their members so they can see who their business champions are in the legislature. And the ones that aren't necessarily business champions, maybe ask them what happened this session and why they weren't. But
I was talking to Troy off the air about we were talking positive things about Mississippi and why this would bring us down as far as this ability for the pot industry to come and do and really take over. They would supersede just about every other law enforcement, building inspections, anything else. When you put it in the Constitution, people don't understand this. You have become the law. You're making your own rules and regulations, and nobody can do a damn thing about it, no matter how much you gripe. But we were talking about all the good things happening, and, of course, he's from North Mississippi, and, I mean, we were talking about people in DeSoto County. There are folks in DeSoto County who want to move to the suburbs now because DeSoto County is becoming just a big metropolitan area, which back in the old days we were aggravated in Memphis, Tennessee by taking all of our people and our businesses. And now it's last 10 or 15, 20 years, it's just reversed that. But there's so many good things going on, so many good growth areas of the state. And we need to do something as far as businesses and industry and income tax for the individuals. And my understanding is that it is gaining favor within the body of the House and Senate to completely reform our tax codes here in the state. And it's going to take a while because of COVID. It may take a couple of 3 years, but at least they're working on it.
Yeah, I know that's something Speaker Gunn has talked about making a priority.
Got to get it done because we're missing a lot of opportunities, people moving industries, and they're doing that from California, New York, New Jersey. Getting the heck out of town.
Well, BIPEC looks forward to having a seat at that table to make sure that we continue to capitalize on the positive things that are happening and make sure we have more.
You got it. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Don't be a stranger.
Absolutely.
Derek Easley, President of BIPEC. We have final segment.